Do you ever look back on your day and wonder how stuff got in your calendar? Why did it even make it in there at all? I want to share with you a tool that I use to help decide what makes it in the calendar and what doesn't. I think it was first popularized by President Eisenhower, and it's known as the Eisenhower quadrants. I ran into the concept first in a little pamphlet that was published back in the early 70s called Tyranny of the Urgent. It was made popular once again in Franklin Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And all it is a quadrant that lays out a grid about urgency and importance. So this grid, as you can see here, is just now Covey or Eisenhower didn't invent the 4-quadrant XY grid. But what they did is they put in, first of all, they made the x-axis about urgency. And urgency lays across that way, and it's the things that are pressing, the things that are yelling at you to get done. And then on the y-axis, he looks at, they place the important things. Now, important things don't yell at you. They don't scream at you to get done. They whisper because they know they're important. Now, when you take a look at this and the upper right quadrant, which would be the urgent and important things, these are the things that have to get done. Either they're on the calendar and it's an appointment you have to make, and you placed it there on purpose, or sometimes the urgent and important things are not planned. They invade your calendar all the time. Whether it's a last-minute meeting that you are called into by your boss, or maybe it's just a flat tire that you've got to get fixed right away. So the urgent and important things are also known as action. These are the things that you need to take action on. Now let's move around the quadrants here and go back to the top left side, things that are important but not urgent. These are the things that whisper to you. And often the voice of urgency screams out over these important things that they need to get done. It's just that they don't need to get done right now. And too often actionable things squeeze out important things. This is the area that I call planning and reflection. And spending time here allows you to be in more control of the time that you spend in action. Now let's go down to the bottom left. These are the things that are not important and not urgent at all. Now, sometimes these get into your day, and oftentimes they don't make it into your calendar, but when you look back at how you spent your day, you find that these things that weren't important and weren't urgent made it into your calendar. Maybe it's that extra hour and a half on Facebook that you spent, or you look back on the weekend and it was that extra long People's Court marathon that you spent time on. These are things that waste your time. And it's easy to, once identified, it's easy to make sure that you get rid of these things that are invading your calendar. Now, what about the things that are urgent but not important? These are the things that feel like they're really, really crisis mode, but not for you. And it's important that you understand you can't really control this quadrant unless you have clarified what's important to you. Because if you don't know what's important to you, then guess what? What's important to other people will start to fill your time. And this is what I call stolen time. And it could be something that is urgent and important to a colleague, a boss, a friend. It's not that you shouldn't pay attention to the needs of your friends, your boss, your peers. You just need to make sure that you control when it gets into your calendar. Now, let's take a look at what tends to happen with people when you ignore what's important to you. When you don't take the time for planning and reflection, those things tend to go into the action place. And instead of planning, they become urgent, and you've got to get them done, and you don't spend the time that you should in those areas. They sneak over, they become actionable, and guess what? Now all of a sudden those unplanned action items, the last minute meetings, the flat tire, they start to bounce and impact your performance on these important things that you should be doing. That is that sense of overwhelm that you feel when you've let too many things slip in from your reflection and planning time into your actionable time, and you feel that you just can't get your head above water. You can't get ahead of the game. So let's take a look at what happens when you allow your friends, peers, boss, their importance. They override your importance. You allow that stuff to sneak into your actionable time. All of a sudden, again, that crowds out the things that are important and urgent to you. There's an old saying, if you don't plan your calendar, somebody else will plan your calendar for you. And that's how their urgencies and their importance override your urgent and important things. And also, it sneaks into the time that you have to spend on action and reflection. So this simple graph I use as a grid, just a way to take a look at my day, take a look at my time, and decide what makes it into my calendar at all. So this is just a simple tool that you can use to help decide what makes it into your calendar and what doesn't. It's very useful, but if you don't know what's important to you, then be aware that other people will define that importance to you.